Universal Declaration for the Future of Humanity. This Universal Declaration is for every sovereign human being on Earth, regardless of race, creed, colour, and perceived social standing. Humanity is the condition of being human. Being a living, breathing human being with a soul is to have the capacity to feel, show compassion, kindness, and the ability to practice wisdom and responsibility. All of humanity is joined as one through the sharing of these lasting values and virtues. Planet Earth is also a living entity. Along with all of her sentient offspring, she shares a form of consciousness whose origins are divine and which reaches its most self-aware form in the human being. We humans are gifted with this innate awareness from birth, to recognise our common responsibility as stewards and nurturers of life in all its forms here on Earth and beyond. The purpose of existence is to achieve the full expression of the potential seeded in us at birth, the manifestation of our God-given gifts, of which love is the supreme attribute. Over time, however, humanity has allowed itself to be dispossessed of this supreme quality and responsibility. The diverse and colourful abundance of life on Earth has faded into a grey and barren landscape of deceptive imitations. It has become a spiritually rudderless and now greed-driven world in which true leadership is either invisible or refused entry. This is not a state that can or will endure. Its existence is dependent upon maintaining and feeding division, hostility, and fear in a world designed to function in wholeness, compassion, and harmony. It is the raising up of the underlying powers of spirituality and purposeful endeavour that will end this reign of oppression that all of humanity is experiencing at this time. For that which oppresses mankind is not of humanity, but is alien to the human condition, a condition that it now seeks to destroy. We all must now come together and unite to drive out these dark elements that hold humanity to ransom, to find deep in ourselves the resolve, courage, and determination to overcome all that which holds back a great flowering of the human genius and a great awakening of the power of the universal soul. This is the age of truth, and we are the truth bearers. Victory for humanity over inhumanity is our most profound and unique God-given challenge, our indisputable field of action from this day forth. What now follows are the essential actions and solutions needed in order to bring about the great turning we all seek, that will lay the firm foundations of a new society based solely on collective and lasting freedom, justice, and compassion, all manifest within a global framework of human-scale ecology and everlasting respect for the living ecosystems of the Earth, our home. Ecology and food security. The current economic trends that exploit and pollute Earth's diverse and delicate ecosystems must come to an immediate end. All future commercial activities must take place on a human scale with local people, rather than soulless multinational corporations. Self-reliance by countries, regions, and communities would become an overriding priority, with global trade being based on mutual cooperation rather than outright competition. The current trend to industrialise our food must come to an immediate end. The backbone for all food production in the world will be small and medium-sized family and community-owned farms, growing by natural and organic means, and with the welfare of all animals involved being of the utmost importance. In this way, the natural fertility of the soils across the world will be re-established, as will our greatly diminished oceans. Local authorities must also ensure that people and communities wishing to grow their own food have access to suitable land. Law. Every sovereign human being on Earth must have easy access to open, fair, and lasting justice, whilst at the same time being protected by effective and impartial community-based policing. This can only be achieved by the universal implementation of common or natural law, where innocence is presumed until proven otherwise. A petite jury made up of 12 randomly selected people who represent the wider community hears the case in an open and impartial court of law and record, overseen by a randomly selected, independent of government judge whose role is to ensure that the court is properly conducted, ensuring both sides have equal opportunity to present their evidence. To convict with a guilty verdict, a jury must have reached a unanimous decision. Anything less and the accused must be found not guilty. A jury not only decides on the appropriate punishment or sentence to be given, but also whether or not to annul the legislation that was first used to bring the case to court. This ensures that the collective common sense and common decency of the people always prevails over those appointed servants who are tasked with the drawing up of supposedly fair and just legislation. The people represented by the petit jury are the highest court in the land and must always have the ultimate and final say. Governance. The peoples of the world must be allowed to lead their lives with the minimal amount of government interference. Complex and invasive legislation should never be used to micromanage people's lives. Free thought and free speech are sacrosanct at all times, but with that must come the personal responsibility not to cause unnecessary distress and suffering. Mutual respect for one another is crucial, and we should all treat others as we wish to be treated ourselves. Self-serving political careers and divisive hierarchical political parties should be actively discouraged in favour of consensus decision-making by independent people elected for a specific time only and who are tasked to bring wisdom, humility, experience, humour and common sense into the debating chamber. Decisions must be arrived at without the interference of organised lobbying by vested and corporate interests. This should result in sound and lasting legislation that safeguards people's freedoms and responsibilities in equal measure. Money. Currently, all the peoples of the world are blighted with unsustainable debt, controlled by a private central banking system that practices secrecy, usury, fraud, deception and entrapment to strangle the prosperity and freedoms out of supposedly sovereign countries. This can be instantly overturned by immediately ceasing all dealings with the privately run and little-known Bank for International Settlements, with its global network of central banks, whilst at the same time ensuring that all future money creation and supply issues become the responsibility of sovereign governments through their treasuries. Sovereign nations will then create, issue and control debt-free and interest-free money that is based solely on the wealth and creativity of that nation. Money creation done in this simple and stable manner, with the full weight of the common law behind it, would immediately remove the debt burden of the world, and with it, the criminals behind the central banking system, resulting in all sovereign countries enjoying real peace and lasting prosperity. Science and learning. Sadly, when it comes to the knowledge needed to improve and enhance our lives, a cloak of lies and censorship has been placed over the world. Academia has largely been corrupted by corporate money, dictating what can and cannot be researched, taught, and even publicly debated. We now have an increasingly smart world where advanced technologies involving artificial intelligence, the intrusive implementation of 5G, and transhumanism, along with completely unproven vaccines, are rolled out without question or debate, as we've seen in response to so-called climate change and COVID-19. Science has been turned against humanity. We already have evidence that many breakthroughs in physics and medical science have been deliberately suppressed. With immediate effect, the cutting-edge research of the likes of the late Nikola Tesla and Dr. Royal Raymond Rife must be made public and given the utmost priority to make real their discoveries and inventions for the benefit of the whole of humanity. These practical and proven solutions will firmly put the peoples of the world back in full control of every aspect of their lives, whilst recognising that they are fully responsible for nurturing and caring for our living and quite wonderful natural world. Work must now begin on enshrining the earth with a new and global Great Charter for all the peoples and living ecosystems of the world, so as to ensure that no repetition of our current predicament can ever be allowed to happen again. Truth, common sense and justice at all times must prevail. Brought to you by the Hardwick Alliance for Real Ecology. campaigning to stop the fake Green New Deal and the fascist Build Back Better Great Reset.